They haven't really. Hello, everybody. This is Connor Listoka, and this is 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back, the podcast where Mike and I read books that we're not expecting to like, along with you, our loyal listeners. Mike, this is the final episode of Super Constitution by Charles Kim. Does it fit with the theme of our podcast so far? The 21st book here.
It certainly does. I'm just looking now. 310 pages I'll never get back?
Yeah.
Or is that the... Yeah. I was happy to get to the end of it. I don't think anyone will disagree with that.
Yeah.
There were a lot of joys contained within, a lot of confusion, and as I've said before, and I'll restate, I think this is the scariest author we've ever read. I'm terrified of his ideas.
Really?
But, yeah.
You don't think there's like a glimmer of, like, something like a spark of an idea that's worth pursuing in here at all?
I've tried to think. Oh, maybe maybe Troikas. I'm not totally against Troikas.
Okay, all right. Well, so we've spent, I don't know, this is probably the 10 hours we've spent discussing this book, and this was a hard thing not to do during any of those previous 10 hours, but I have a little bit of a confession about this selection,
Confession. All right.
Yeah. Well,
is it? Can I guess?
Sure. Yeah. Speculate.
You've been uploading deviant art about the Troika this entire time.
Well, yeah, but that's not my confession. Okay. I publicize that heavily. I'm trying to do a little side hustle with my deviant art of the Troika. No, my confession is that Charles Kim is my pen name.
What?
This is my work. I wrote Super Constitution about a decade and a half ago.
What?
Soon after we met, yep. And I felt like I had some ideas I wanted to put out in the world, and as you know, this was not well received when I uploaded it under this name. And I thought that this might be a way to sort of reintroduce it into society and get a conversation going around this idea.
You are Charles Kim.
Yeah, I mean, it was right there. Charles, Connor, they both start with C, so.
Well, that's true.
Dan Brown would probably have figured that out pretty quickly.
Wow. So, holy cow. These are...
Yeah, I think that if we were able to reunite the government of the world under one, sort of unit, it would just have a lot of benefits for our GDP and our military might.
Wow. You know what is starting to make sense now is that I'm looking over at my, I have a little desk over in the corner. I have about 6 or 7 of your unopened manifestos. They're just packages that you sent me in brown paper, and I was like, I'm not going to open this.
Yeah.
And, you're... Please read this and tell me what you think, kind of, please. I would just kind of say, oh, it's, I had to rake the yard. Oh, it snowed today, I would say. And then I'd go out and pretend to shovel instead of read. But this is making sense
Please
now. Wow.
read. The voices need to be assuaged in my head, type of thing. And you never would. And so I figured that this would be the way to sort of just get the idea of, hormone treatment for people who are... visit too many prostitutes or steal. I firmly endorse that type of idea. I sort of slid that into here into final words, I guess. But I just there's been a lot of conversation. It's been disheartening to sort of go through these past 5 episodes and sort of have to laugh along with you as you poke holes in all my theories. But
you know what? The other thing I should have seen is that you for every birthday or whatever, you would send me a large piece of costume jewelry. I always thought that was odd, but now this is starting to come into focus. So
that was sort of like living out the character, It was a method sort of thing. I had to really get into the world. I would go to trade shows for costume jewelry just so I could inhabit the character of Charles Kim.
Well, at least you didn't do anything super weird like going to corgi meetups without actually owning a corgi.
All right,
that would be very
strange. That was for my destroying all sea creatures manifesto. I believe that as well. We should sterilize.
Right. So how many degrees do you have?
I've been busy, my friend. All sorts of name an uncredited university, and I've received a degree from them. Yeah.
Oh, correspondence courses.
I deeply resent the term diploma mill. These are These are beneficial places that are providing me with all sorts of degrees. The back of my wall, as you've seen on Zoom calls, baseball hats in front of me, though, is all my PhDs that I've received from these places. Also printed.
I remember
on
when you went to Mexico and then you told me you were happy to do my gallbladder surgery. I was like, that's come on, man.
Yeah. So I just feel like this has been hopefully a way, like we've said before, like the Velvet Underground, they only sold 1,000 copies, but every single one of those people who bought a copy went on to form their own band. I can only hope that my ideas presented here in Super Constitution as Charles Kim will just light a spark under some of our listeners.
Well, all right. Well, let's see how you put a bow on your ideas here, and let's see how you tie it up and wrap it up. Maybe the turnaround will be worth it. We'll see.
Yeah, right. Knowing this, and I'm sure it will cast it in a new light. But I just hope our relationship can proceed forward with me thinking that, everyone should speak one language, that a killing wave is a good way to ensure compliance amongst Earth's citizens.
And you're fairly
horniness.
Yes.
That's,
okay.
I hope that, that's, next time we're shaking hands, you can sort of just ignore that and
we can put it behind us. I do want to know, though, as long as you're spilling your secrets here, who did you have in mind for Miss Sequoia?
Oh yeah,
is there is it ScarJo or who do you?
What's the Jennifer, the woman from the Capital One commercials? That's what I'm leading on.
Okay,
Ben Affleck's former wife.
Right. Okay.
I don't remember her name, but that's who I was
Garner.
thinking of. Jennifer Garner. Yeah, that's little something for Charles.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not Charles Kim. It would be funny if I was. We'll have to, someone should find out whether he's still around. If anyone gets a picture of themselves or a signed copy of the book, that will become, I think, this book's valuable enough anyway. But if you could track him down, maybe he's giving a talk or a rant on a street corner somewhere, please find out if that's possible. I mean, and as we know, his phone number is published in the back of the book. We've sort of ignored that this entire time, but
that's true.
I'm sort of disappointed that no one's. No, do not do that, of course. But if you did, please let us know.
So I saw I watched that documentary on the anarchist convention down in Mexico. Did you ever see that? In the middle of it, there was a murder, so it was kind of it had a lot of surprises in it. But obviously that is not a big convention, but they're claimed to be anarchists, which I'm not sure they're using the term exactly right. But anyway, just to think like Charles Kim, his convention, where would he go with his idea? Like even the anarchists would be like, "No, we're not into this crap. What are you talking about? One world government. We're complete." You know what I mean? Like this has to be the nichiest.
Right.
If he were to present his ideas, like I'm the lead-off speaker at One World Government Com.
Right.
Can you imagine the crew that would show up there?
Right, because as soon as you deviate slightly from what your other people are thinking, they all have to follow along one way. I mean, I guess there could be enthusiasts who are like, I want one world government, and that's my only stipulation. Whatever they decide, I'm going to be fine with. I just think that that's the most important thing.
And there are probably people who would be pessimistic about the chances, and Charles Kim would be like, "No, you don't get it. The world's going to love it. Like they're going to cheer for it. Everything you do, they're going to be behind." So it's just a niche way of thinking.
I think that it's foolish to underestimate the amount of people who would be into something now that we've seen the 20 years of heavy internet usage on society. But I think that this is a hard one to imagine, what that crowd would look like, as you said.
Yes. With that, let's get into the manifesto.
Yeah, we haven't had anyone who's written into saying like you guys are being too hard on this, because I think it is pretty nuts. And the manifesto has 3 chapters remaining, and a lot of it is deeply into the weeds. As we've said, the Troika has disappeared from our story with their lovemaking and breath holding and all that stuff has been unfortunately scuttled, I think. In its place has been Miss Sequoia, who has sort of become a main character in the Kirkman One World Government cabinet. But even so, there's not a lot of character development or or sex or action in this. These last 3 chapters are a lot of. There's a certain scene in movies that we have done a lot of at Riff Tracks, where there's usually 2 men in very fake-looking army uniforms that are having a meeting in an office that's clearly a rented grade school room. They usually have a big map hanging up of either the world or the U.S. There's usually a pretty crappy American flag in the corner, and these 2 guys just talk at each other. And that is a scene in like a sci-fi movie for maybe 4 minutes.
We kind of call it, gray men saying gray dialogue in gray offices.
Yeah. Usually at least one of them has a military flat top, and they cut to the other one sort of looking concerned as the guy rattles off about, trying to build the plot in some way. But it's the most boring thing, the most frustrating thing when you get a section of that to try to write jokes for in your section.
Yes, one of them is probably smoke. It's preferred that one of them would be smoking, but that's optional.
Yep.
And just staring at the other one as he expounds on his ideas. That's what we get here in very, very long form.
Written form, yes.
With the only interruptions being President Kirkman continued kind of stuff. But so let's cut our way through the thicket of this with Article 17 of Super Constitution.
This one sort of started, I thought it was sort of a nicely understated thing because Global President George Kirkman is announcing the official global government organization of the first global armed forces. And he I guess it's just sort of like a press release, which it reads about as dry as, the fake quotes that like The Rock would give if they were announcing his new McDonald's value meal or something. He says, I'm very pleased to finally be able to formalize the existence of the World Armed Forces for the people of the world. Activities and appearance of only one world armed forces will convince everyone of the real beginning of an entirely new world. It is not only going to symbolize unified globalization, but also solidify the actual management of the super constitution spirit. It just has that fake, like, publicist written tone to it, except it's not about a, new collaboration with Nike or something. It's actually about the global armed forces that's taking over the world.
I'll have to remember this formation because I'm asked for quotes often, like, hey, we're doing a press release. Can we get a quote about this? And it always kills me. Like, I try to be funny. I try to make it a joke or something, so there's some sizzle to it. But I think I'll just go with, I am very much pleased to be able to announce that we shall be riffing this movie on the dates of October 19th.
Yes. Swamp Thing 2. We are activities and appearances of our Fathom Events Live will convince everyone of the real beginning of an entirely new comedy world.
So my first question for you in the Charles Kim prose, here's what he says. We are going to positively use military institutes as help for civilians' constructive campaigns or for any meandering any disaster. I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Again, why the military? You have a killing ray.
Sure, yep.
And you are monitoring everyone's thoughts and making sure they can't do anything. But the second question and bigger one is, what word do you even think he meant instead of, or for meandering any disaster?
Yeah.
Now, I looked it up because I wanted to make sure I wasn't being stupid. There is no meaning of the word that fits that. So I tried. Then I was trying to think. Like, all I can think is like to clean up or staunch any. I don't know. There's nothing even close. I cannot think of it. So if anyone can think of it,
of what he's trying to say there, yeah, like if a hurricane was approaching the coast of something, if the military could come in and sort of like, lead it as you would an elderly person you were helping cross the street, like meander the hurricane away from the coast.
Does he mean mitigate a disaster?
Oh, I mean, it does start with the same letter.
It's not close, though.
It's not close.
It's the best I can do. All right.
The next sentence after that one, too, is the World Armed Forces must act as a friendly machine for the people and government. Now comply or we'll kill you with our killing wave.
Yes.
He goes on to then, part of his press release or whatever, he says he's going to introduce the first chairperson of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs for the World Armed Forces. Mm-hmm. I am very much pleased to appoint Miss Michelle Sequoia for the post. She has an extraordinary memorizing power. Maybe she could memorize all officers' names and their brief careers in addition to countless historical events of world military matters. So that's got that sort of just, thinking out loud type of thing. And it reminded me of, like, it's just, so you're introducing the head of the global government, but he's leading with the, the barroom trivia, like how David Brent was obsessed that Chris Finch could once threw a kettle over the roof of a pub. Like that's what he's telling you your new supreme commander can do. I don't know. Maybe she'll go and she'll be one of those zip code people who can tell you any zip code that you came from.
And she's like stage left and doing the no, like waving it off. Maybe she could come out and sing "Sunshine on My Shoulder" by John Denver. Someone handing her a guitar. Like, no, I don't. I told you once that I kind of liked that song.
Yeah, in 6th grade, she said she could do a bunch of double jumps when jumping rope. She could do like 10 in a row. Do we got a jump rope? No, we don't have a jump. We'll track down a jump rope. And but here she is, Allied Supreme Commander.
And someone in the audience goes, "This is not what we're here for." And then you just see him whisper to someone else, "Could you killing ray that person?" I think it's row 23. Let me count. Well, you'll just that whole area. Just wipe it
out. Michelle Sequoia, though, does come out, and he introduces her and says that he surely admires the prodigious caliber of her talents. So a little something for the president right there. And it introduces this by saying that this appointment of her lacerated everyone's common speculation in terms of lifting ranks and shook ordinary norms of military practice. It was like a tremendous trembler or tsunami of which shockwave reverberated endlessly and overwhelmed everyone's expectations. Which seems like it's been happening a lot. Everyone's been just like, tsunamied and tremendous trembles and explosions and shockwaves happen quite a bit in this. And I guess you are really turning the world on its head. So I guess that doesn't warrant the settle down I thought it did.
But they're doing it over the fact that it's a 28-year-old hottie.
Yeah.
Because also here's her reputation as an outstanding genius and strikingly charming beauty queen, with her unexpectedly protruding odd behavior, entailed a lot of palatable responses from her surroundings. There's a lot going on there, but what sticks out to me is, check out her protruding odd behavior.
The odd behavior is that she's so hot in this thing where we're used to seeing military crew cut guys, the gray men.
Right. So then she just goes on a massive speech.
Mother of God.
God.
I just wrote, I highlighted some stuff, just said he gets into the weeds with how many stars you're going to have in terms of how many military stars. You have 4-star generals, and so he says like the total number of stars in that office alone showed 92, including 4 stars on each of Miss Sequoia's shoulders following her special promotion at the ceremony. President Kirkman picked up 1 3-star and 2 1-star generals. So it's like a kids collecting Pokemon cards or something. It's like, I have 92 stars because I have 4 3-star ones, and then I evolved Squirtle, so now he's 2 stars.
It also struck me, I read once, and it makes sense the second you hear it, is that all dictators or people of power love to design their own outfits.
Oh, wow.
To be different from other, like, Idi Amin. There was nothing that existed before it. He's just, like, sketched it up and gave it to someone. And then, of course, you make up your own medals, and then you hang them all over. Like Judge Ito did it, and even Patton.
Judge Ito?
Yes.
Lance Ito?
Yeah. He made his own outfit.
Oh, okay.
His own robe that was different from he designed. It had some sort of special flair to it. I don't remember what it was.
Well, you need to be able to dance in it on Jay Leno. That was important.
Yeah. But that's a feature of that kind of person who wants to, instead of like actually just working and doing stuff and getting noticed,
right?
Design the outfit and hope the rest sort of fills in, So that's what they're doing with the world government.
Yes. And it just speaks, it's, as we've said before, it speaks to Charles Kim's, what he's impressed by with all those other people.
Yes.
And then I just wrote more of this shit because it says, 25 divisions of the Army and Marines would contain 41,666 units of squadrons, 130 generals, about more than 12,000 officers, and more than 500,000 soldiers. 15 commands of Air Force would manage 7,000 airplanes with more than 100,000 professional soldiers, 45 generals, blah, 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 blah. Paragraphs of that.
Just paragraphs. And yeah, I just said I kind of skipped it, but there's a couple things. Here's a sentence that stood out to me. On the continued events of her imposing appearance, they began to notice they forgot that she had such a charming beauty. Wait, what? That's like, Manos. I could have sworn we didn't take a wrong turn back there. Kind of like, what?
Wow.
They began to notice they forgot? How do you begin to notice that you forget something?
You just shake your head, and all of a sudden she's hot again, I guess, is what you're doing.
I guess that's it.
Well, they fill in a little backstory with our hot Supreme Commander here.
Yes,
and again, as we saw in the first glory days of this book, when it was just talking about our Brenda Chen and her hotness and her weird her insatiable sexual appetites. It was Grandpa No, but in a sort of drawn out, extended, you can't look away type of moment. And we get this here talking about Miss Sequoia. Her intriguing talent actually started way before her West Point days. Throughout her junior and senior high school days, her positive and pleasant attitude, comprehending her environment and the interests of other people, excited others. During her teenage years, always distressing when a 70-year-old author starts doing this, she developed a peculiar physical characteristic in her muscle and nervous system. Yes, just scanning ahead for the word octopus or invertebrates. No, her muscle power steadily grew up to her senior year of high school and bestowed upon her bewildered strength. It much surpassed her male peers' muscle power, allowing her to weightlift more than 400 pounds. Not only that, she also never got tired. She always won all the competitions in the triathlon of combining swimming, bicycling, and distance running. And then she checked with her family medical practitioner and further consulted a specialist in neurology. They were surprised by their findings. She surely had female body organs, and even her skin had the same soft tissue as her female peers. Nevertheless, the queer development of her muscle power continued. So it's essentially being like, an athletic woman? And she's hot? Very, very odd stuff here.
I speculate one thing. Obviously, the Grandpa No horniness is right there on the surface. You don't have to think about that. But underneath the surface is that, so he only admires people with, multiple degrees.
Mm-hmm.
He
Skipping
thinks
grades.
everyone else is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
However, in his, he probably was pushed into a locker and hung on the hook more times than you can count. Sure. And so this is just fantasy of like, what if there were nerds who their muscle power could lift 400 pounds and stuff?
Right.
I'd throw you in the lockers then. You'd be the one.
Right.
Or, yeah, sure, I make costume jewelry. What did you ever do that was cool?
Yeah, or a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome where he's admired his the people who have taunted him, I guess.
I guess so.
But they can't just be strong and bench pressing 400 pounds. You also have to never get tired, so be superhuman, and you have to be super hot too. So it's a very, it's essentially like just a Wonder Woman,
Wasn't there was a spate of shows like this in the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Where people would
Alias,
show up
starring Jennifer Garner. And there was a
Heroes or something.
Yep,
There's
was a
like
good
a
one.
lot of these where people like appear from space and they have all these powers. And
Wasn't there a Jessica Alba one, I think, and there was a Eliza Dushku. They promoted that one during the World Series one year, I remember.
That's Connor and I, our only knowledge of any shows on actual networks.
We've got the star of True Calling in the office here. That's Elijah Dushku will be, and she's like just looking very disinterested in the.
Coming up, that's on Tuesdays. Elijah Dushku just a bit outside,
and we've been informed that show has been canceled before it even aired. But so here we get this. It says, we sometimes hear about a female character wielding swords or spears in old days battlefield as fiercely as a conspicuously famed knight. She felt she had a warrior-like vigor. Maybe that's why she took the West Point. And so I don't know if we have any listeners, anyone who can do this, but if we can take a survey of incoming West Point attendees and see if anyone lists feeling like you have a warrior-like vigor as the reason for enrolling, I would be very curious.
And I hope you put that on your application.
I keep getting denied. I don't understand. All my test scores, and I could bench press 400 pounds, but I don't write anything about patriotism or compelled into duty. All I say is I have a warrior. I feel like I have a warrior-like vigor, and they keep rejecting me.
So in the middle of her speech, the gray men, the crew cut guys with their hats on their laps, start, I guess, smiling at her and just getting hornier, I guess.
Crossing their legs over, just like looking at their watches.
Don't ask me to come up on stage. But Madame Sequoia says she notices this, I guess, and says this. Actually, I think it's supposed to be though, but it's actually thought I am going to miss several absences. But now I am actually going to miss several love calls drawing a lot of smiles from audiences. Love calls drawing is a hyphenated one word.
Yes.
What? Do you have any idea what's happening?
My only note was, what does this mean? I called attention to that thing, but I just didn't. I wasn't sure. I think it's just like, oh, boys type of thing.
I'm actually going to miss several love calls drawing a lot of smiles from audiences.
Love calls drawing is probably if you put that into Google, I bet you get one result, and that would be Super Constitution.
I would think so. So she signs off. I don't have anything because then she gets back into the weeds again, I think. But her sign off is, this is in the background. Remember this, everyone. Big, long, I think we're talking at least 8 pages of deployment capabilities. Guys getting hornier as she's doing it. Yeah. Them smiling at her, going like, tilting their heads and putting, interweaving their hands and putting them under their chin and then tilting their heads to the side as she's making the announcement of how many stars the general from the Western Division, former European theater, is going to get.
Every single person has written their hotel room number and passed it forward. There's just a pile of those on stage.
Throwing keys up. And she signs off, "Please be mindful of Miss O'Hara's technology. Thank you."
Yes, an amazing understatement to offer up there. Please be mindful of our vast nuclear arsenal that we've left a trained chimpanzee has his hand on the switch at all times. Please be mindful of that. Thank you.
So long. Oh, I wish I could give speeches under that, authority.
Oh, man.
When I used to go to universities and speak, I would just basically do, bits of my stand-up, read from my book. And kids just like, I thought the reaction was like, great. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, this is a great audience. It's like, well, they're sitting in these same chairs listening to dry lectures. Mm-hmm. Of course they think this is better than... And I always felt like, this is cheating, man. Calling it a speech is like totally cheating. But imagine if I just said, hey, you guys, I'm going to give you a big, long speech, and you're going to sit there and listen, or I'll kill you.
Oh, man.
And then you can do your speech and then finish and like, remember, I can kill you.
It would be great. As if we could do a Stanford prison experiment, just come out with that, very unethical, but make that happen, and then just do like the worst stand-up you could possibly imagine. Just see how much you could fake the laughter as an audience. There, I would love to see it.
And then you could just like, if you didn't get big enough laugh, you could just put your, hand next to your ear and lean out towards the audience. You'd get a bigger laugh. There we go. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Well, we get Mr. President Kirkman and a doctor, Dr. Wang, to I think start speaking now. But we also get a little backstory here that I think it's never really elaborated on, but it's deeply interesting because it says the military matter looked like a formidable fortress not to be conquered easily, but it actually was a brittle giant tree. It was a piece of cake to Miss Sequoia.
Yes.
So a triple metaphor. Not sure what the brittle giant tree has to do with anything, although maybe he's just getting distracted talking about sequoias there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Well, also maybe distracted by the fact that just buried in the middle of it, I think it's somewhere around there, she says she respected Kirkman, and actually she loved him.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and Kirkman trusted her capability to handle the First World Armed Forces. He often felt a flirting sensation from her. Both guessed each other's feeling. In the rapid process of deployment and disarming, they began to feel more love for each other.
So I was then thinking, okay, visit to the doctor. How much sex are you going to have?
Yeah, really. The Lincoln
doesn't
bedroom.
happen.
Come on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing happened.
So disappointing.
That was really, really a, what do you call that? Introducing something that just doesn't, especially this late in the book. I thought, well, okay, here we go.
Chekhov's fling. I don't know.
Yes.
Man, yeah, a real big tease, because we've never been informed about, I mean, that's the thing. Kirkman was a teacher and an unpublished author, right? We've never been told how many grades he skipped, how long he can hold his breath, how good looking he is. So maybe Charles Kim was just, he thought this had to happen, but he was disgusted by her pairing up with someone who's so far beneath her, who's just maybe like J.C. Penney catalog hot and not supermodel.
Yeah.
Hot.
I wonder if before she decided to, hook up with him, did she do like do in, obviously the NFL or whatever, they take someone in and give them the full physical. Let's see, like, do you have the ability, does your liver have the ability to, get rid of 10 times the toxins of, just find some weird.
I don't know. I've never tested it. I think my liver's pretty good, but all right. I'm just gonna Chuck over here is gonna hold your head underwater and
I'll hit the timer and
I'll be measuring you, from the base as we do that to just see how you stack up.
Ooh, he never came back up. He is not banging material.
Yes.
Sorry.
And we're going to need a new one world government president. We have.
Is there any other unpublished authors out there?
I don't think the Super Constitution established a line of succession, because that was not outlined for pages at a time.
Miss O'Hara.
But as the Super Constitution has been rolled out and all this stuff has happened, we've mostly seen only positive responses here. But we do get a little slice of some side problems that are happening here. Mm-hmm. It says the main side problems happened during the process of deployment. So, side problems. What are you thinking? Like, they didn't get the right bank account numbers or something like that, or there was just some supply chain issues getting flour to some of these countries.
Right. I mean, maybe someone has to actually make those stars and put them on patches.
Sure,
and,
yeah. They didn't calculate, some of these like countries where it gets to be like 120 degrees. They didn't give them the right type of asphalt for the infrastructure, so they were encountering some side problems there. The main side problems were caused by a small groups of extreme nationalists in Japan, North Korea, and Thailand. Suicide cases by burning themselves in protesting disarming of their country's military institutes and practice of English as the official world language in every nation of the world. Just a little side problem, mass burning protests in protest of your major thing that you consider to benefit, that English was the only official language.
But it does, you see how it is a side problem when, she's now Madam Michelle Sequoia.
Yes.
Which I think is a little odd for a title of her stature.
She is a
Madam
general, right? Yeah.
Yes. Ordered her generals not to be bothered by any type of suicidal cases, and just to move forward without any comment.
Yeah.
Silence was gold, the key to quell complaints. My God.
A little peek behind the curtain. A little, you're going to get that from our author here. Can't make an omelet.
Omelets, eggs. Yes, you're going to get. Oh, wow.
I mean,
what do they call that when you, I just had it at the tip of my tongue, when you burn yourself to death?
Self-immolation or
immolation, that's it, yeah.
I mean, you know, that happened once in the 60s or early 70s, and it's one of the most famous photographs of all time. Like, this would shock and horrify the world if it was happening on a regular basis in multiple countries every day.
I think the enthusiasm would cause people to say that is but a side problem. Don't make any comment on it.
Good God.
Just a little before that, I don't want to pass this up.
Sure.
Just proof that he, possibly you, I'm still going with the theory that it could be you.
Hey, I mean,
Charles Kim.
I consider all those monks, they were just big side problems.
All the creatures on Earth live its own lifestyles according to the given dynamism. Human was born by not its choice, but by a natural dynamism we cannot control. Nobody made the super constitution. No one tried to figure out how the super constitution was born. What in the name of God are you talking about? You just spent a book forcing the world to its knees with a death ray. No one knows how it was made.
Is it sort of like it was inevitable? It was going to happen? Is that what it is?
I'm sure that's it. I'm sure that's what he means. Look, guys, why are we putting this off? It took 3 college students banging each other to make it happen, but it was gonna happen anyway. Come on,
man. It's hard to. So you look back. I guess no one knows that our 3 Troika were responsible for this because everyone thinks Miss O'Hara showed up and delivered this from a star 21 light years away.
Yeah,
but no one tried to figure it out. Like,
no one was curious. But this is all leading towards spoiler alert, a utopia. And this is a little clue to the kind of utopia we're talking about. A science of neurology was now trying to take a picture of a human's brain to read all of the brain's memory. If that neurological technology would be materialized soon, anyone no longer could lie.
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson, if you'll just step over into this line, this is where we will photograph your entire brain and issue a little stamp about whether you have lied or not. Yeah. And then if you'll just step over into the killing ray room. Oh, but you're not going to kill me. Well, I mean, we'll see, won't we?
And making you unable to lie is a mere, just a amuse-bouche for what he starts proposing towards the end of this, because we really get some solutions that he's offering here. This is sort of we've all seen Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey. This could have hilarious consequences if anyone was unable to lie. But he just sort of, that's one of those things he glosses over as just like you said, a inevitable dynamism or whatever he's saying. There's no real reason for this and no explanation for how they're able to do this or why, but it just goes hand in hand with the one world government and the super constitution.
And does this fall under the purview of their intelligence gathering? The mad Russian guy who behind the scenes is listening to every conversation that's happening in every nook and cranny of the world. Is he the one that gets to decide whether I'm lying or not?
Yeah, a window into that guy's world would be a pretty awesome thing, because he's got to come home at the end of every day and just be like, pour himself a stiff drink and how was work today, honey? I don't want to talk about it. I monitored every conversation on Earth for 12 straight hours. I just need to unwind.
We get a little poetry from him, though. This is my last note of Article 17, by the way. The demolishing process of the WMD, led by Russia and managed by the WMD Decommission Committee, composed of 5 nations, sped towards the finish line in a fully plumped sail. I love how he'll just mix, the repetition of words of decommission by the commission of the committee composed, and then end it with something like sped towards the finish line with a fully plumped sail.
Yes. It's elementary school poetry, I guess.
Yeah, wow.
We had where was plump? I think it was Tech War. Was someone described as plump? I don't know. We had
I don't know.
Book where maybe it was someone's wife. I think the partner in Tech War, maybe. I like this thing just as it's inconsequential, but it was just a window into the way that our author's mind works here. He says she's proposing a air show to demonstrate military strength. So they're going to be,
Yes.
playing "Here I Am, Rock You Like a Hurricane," and the Blue Angels are coming out because that's important. But they're deciding when to do this. He says, "I think those matters of concern, economic and social and political justice, will appear in better visibility in the next 5 months. That is why, as you have already been thinking, I am talking about that the grand ceremony of our global military review should be done around May 2017, and the best weather of the earth is around May too." So he's, I mean, so the answer to the question of when is the best weather on the entire Earth, I guess probably technically has a right answer, but it's something that no normal person has ever thought about. Like, there's got to be, the best average weather on the entire planet. Like, I don't know what I would have guessed, but it's a funny thing to think about because obviously all the citizens of Earth are going to, stand in the streets and watch at attention this military air show you're giving because you'll kill them if they don't. But it's nice you're taking into consideration like when they're going to have the nicest day, when the most of them will have the nicest day.
Yes, and she'll be there to say, what is it? Please applaud now or please laugh now,
Please
which
clap,
I forget.
yeah.
Please clap. That's what it is.
Yeah, so that was just a fun, only a maniac would wonder the answer to that question, or someone who was deeply stoned, I guess, is also possible.
But we get into more of that show comes later, which is pretty. That's kind of a little bit of fun in the middle of another slog.
That was chapter 17, which was called, I think, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Article 18 is called World Trade. And
oh boy!
And this is all the meeting, yet another meeting between the gray men with Dr. J. Kim and George Kirkman to discuss world economic matters. And Dr. J. Kim offers from the beginning, he says that economic matters have always driven me enthusiastic along a whimsical human mind, which I think would be a great line to put in your dating profile if anyone is trying that. I'm just looking for adventure and someone to share laughs with, and economic matters have always driven me enthusiastic along a whimsical human mind. Let us know if that sparks any interest, if anyone puts it in out there.
But he starts the conversation. I love this. The George Kirkman. I like to picture it's, what's the name of the boss on Office Space, where he just kind of wanders towards
Lumberg.
He wanders towards Kirkman's office. Hey, Kirkman, what's going on? Oh, sorry, Dr. J. Kim.
Yeah.
How's everything going with your homework, Dr. Kim? You think the world economic matters as a piece of cake or a puzzled headache?
It's like a "what is the sound of one hand clapping" riddle.
What? Do I have to choose?
I mean, I guess if there's only two options, I'm going to say a puzzled headache. Seems like a trick question.
He's like, there's books open everywhere. He's sweating. His tie is undone.
He's got a yarn wall connecting all the various things.
The entire world I'm in charge of.
He also goes on to say, I mean, he does it's also deeply unfortunate. He runs down what he's about to tell him. And there are 7 fields, I think, that he's going to, or maybe 6.
Yes.
And he says, got to share this with you because this is what we read. President Kirkman, first, I'd like to talk about a controlled currency. Money concerns everybody's everyday life. Second, GDP, gross domestic product. And he lists, 4 more things that he's going to discuss with him. And then the President Kirkman's response is, Dr. Kim, they all sound like very dry subjects. Which is like, he's like, I've got to deal with this as president of the world, but I mean, it would make for a terrible book if anyone was considering writing about it. But then Dr. Kim responds, not at all, President Kirkman. They're actually amusing issues because all the subjects touch everyone's interest in their happiness and freedom. So, touche, but we're gonna see for ourselves, I guess.
It is funny that the author just comes in and goes, "Oh, you think you're about to read something very boring?" Oh, no. These are fascinating things.
Yeah. And then Kirkman responds, I'm very glad to hear that these subjects will describe such urgent, interesting points with easy understanding. And then they immediately disprove that because they just launch into patented Charles Kim. It would be uninteresting even if, the preeminent scholar was trying to teach them to your average Joe, but in his way, they're even more incoherent and uninteresting.
And here's an example. This is the world government's chief economist, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes the currency looks like an exorcist or magician. People say honesty is the best policy. I agree with it. The word may appear simple and clear, but neither simple nor sophisticated minds can fathom the depth of the simple word's real meaning. The matters of currency certainly belong to a land of Oz. And the president of the world, because he knows he can get away with it, pulls out his state-issued Luger and shoots the guy right in the head.
I just wrote, I would fire this man immediately. If you...
we're starting from scratch, and I believe I can get away with that as the president. So.
But also, it's about as clear as any description of like the blockchain that I've ever read.
Sure.
You know, why we need a blockchain. This guy would probably be well on board with that. He says, and I thought this was good too, people say money talks. We should encourage people to respect money. Money circumvents people who run after only money itself while also distancing people who neglect or look down on it. Money sticks with people who take risks or chance ventures with the right virtues. Money respects smart people who could figure out well what people want, etc., etc., etc.
That might be good if someone could rap that. You know,
yeah,
talking
right.
about money.
Yeah, or a hustle bro, rise and grind TED Talk type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Just pages and pages of stuff like that. As this guy talks to President Kirkman, and President Kirkman, responds with great interest, or that it sort of just cuts to him every now and then. Stage directions.
Yeah, I'll spoil that, and then I have a couple of points to pull out from this because there's not much. Again, That is it. But so it is a gigantic monologue from J. Kim along the lines we've just outlined, and then it. Just paragraph break and then one lines, and here they are.
Okay. Oh, you're going to give us all the stage directions?
I've collected them.
Nice.
J. Kim continued on the subject of currency. Okay. However, J. concluded as the following. Dr. Kim continued. J. Kim continued after a little pause. And this one, suddenly he realizes, God, I can't keep doing this, so he really adds some sizzle.
Nice.
J. Kim drank another cup of coffee just brought by one of his secretaries, and continued to the fourth subject, a matter of tax. J. Kim continued on the taxation. J. Kim continued to the fifth subject, the distribution of wealth. Again, he realizes, I should break this up. Kim took a momentary silence in order to straighten his logical order of thoughts on the matter of the distribution of wealth.
Damn.
So we'll play. Here's the moment of silence. Okay, I straightened the logical order of my thought. Kim continued after a short period of time, taking some pause for a deep breath to give a break to his body's composure.
I mean, that's like a daily affirmation. Take a break to give rest to your body's composure.
Deep breath to give a break to his body's composure. And then the last two, Kim continued without a break. J. Kim continued without a pause.
Oh my God. It's amazing. To insert pauses to tell you that the person continued without a pause is like, I mean, it's a deft maneuver.
It's not something that, I mean, if, who's the highest level of writing, who's the guy, the Irish writer?
James Joyce?
Yeah, Joyce did it or something. You'd be like, wow, genius.
Yeah.
Ernest Hemingway, like, it looks stupid, but the dude knew what he was doing. He was challenging us,
Yep, on par. Put him up there with the Titans. Put me up there with the Titans as I wrote this.
And in the middle of it, though, we get some enthusiasm from the president. When he talks about the wine region.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like a little light bulb in the middle of this dim gray march. He goes, Dr. Kim, I'm so glad to hear the story. Oh, Mark, what a story.
Yeah, I think that you would,
wow.
There's a lot of comparisons here. Tommy Wiseau made his money in like designer jeans somehow. He managed to.
Yeah, he owned like that big warehouse down on the wharf
with a label that no one had ever heard of, but somehow he had the millions of dollars to make the room. I think that the costume jewelry may have been that lucrative, and it just makes people talk this way, I guess. That wine story, I think we should say, because all he does is just, we've read the examples. You must be able to formulate them. They sound like they're written by AI. So then he launches into this thing. He says, as for an example, we can take Napa Valley of California for winery. Italian and Spanish. What is this in? This is in, I don't even know which format which bullet point this is in, GDP maybe. But he said,
oh, yes, I'm not sure, yeah.
Italian and Spanish wine growers carved out that area and developed into famous production regions for winemaking. The Italian and Spanish winemakers who had developed their best know-how and technology for winery had observed their homeland's cost of labor and land went upward in gyration beyond their control. They started moving their home turf from their country to Napa Valley of California, which had land in even better condition of almost unlimited size with unbelievably low price and abundant cheap labors. Napa Valley made wine-drinking habitat possible as a popular culture also for ordinary people, not only for rich people, which I think should be the slogan of Napa Valley when you drive into town. And Kirkman's reaction to this whole thing, Kirkman was captivated by Kim's simple story, which I assumed that he had obviously fallen asleep and then started awake and had to very quickly pretend like he was looking captivated, but you never know. He was so glad to hear the story.
No, apparently he produced a bed with a cover on it, and he was laying with his hands on his own hands, and his legs were kicking back and forth. Captivated by the story, which was supposed to be an example, I just looked back on, of the education.
Okay.
That portion of his speech.
Yes, regarding the educational program. Sure,
yes.
That makes sense.
Wow.
But his points here are essentially GDP, it needs to be higher. Education, it's good. Really is what these things boil down to.
Yeah, but occasionally you get something like this thrown in, which is, this. If we fear utopias being pronounced by people, this might be one of the reasons. Yes, President Kirkman, our globe is big enough, and it has more than enough space to reshuffle the world population according to the need for people's welfare. My God.
Yeah.
The banality of evil.
Yeah, just, mass relocations. Those have been something that have worked out well throughout history, right?
I never hear a negative one.
Yeah, it was the trail of laughter, right? That was what people were forced to walk along. Oh, boy. And this was another fun aside I thought that was a little... The jokes in here have been few and far between, but I think this was a little joke by Charles Kim. He's talking about tax rates. He says, how much of a tax burden is then necessary? I would say that no tax at all would be my ideal answer, but that does not conform to reality. What? So everything else in this book that he's proposed has been something that he has thought has conformed to reality, but no taxes is the one thing where he draws the line? I mean, I'm not sure. He says the lightest possible burden should, of course, be the ideal conclusion. And then with a chapter and a half to go in the book, this is just a little taste of what they give you as a reader. Right now, the average tax burden has passed about 20% of the average income and approaches toward 30% in worldwide trend. For example, France's tax burden in 1975 was 35%, but it went up to 45% in 2006. The U.S.'s one in 1975 was 25%, and it rose to 28% in 2006. And South Korea's one, so they're discussing historical tax burdens and comparisons to present day, which is just... an insane thing to do in any book, let alone one where you're rapidly approaching what is, the conclusion.
And during all of this, George Kirkman was excited. He felt ecstasy. He praised J. Kim's vision of the world's economic outlook.
Oh, my God.
You've touched my heart. I'm so happy to hear your basic ideas.
That's a real quote?
Yeah. You've really touched my heart. Now, keep in mind, J. Kim, I think he started out by saying, I'm a capitalist. That's the best way to do this whole thing.
Yeah,
right?
Just said GDP, increase it as much as possible. That's the way to go.
So one day, let's just say we're in a distant Aboriginal village somewhere, I don't know, 1,000 helicopters land and just start dumping people out. And the military troops with, I'm sure, NATO-issued weapons start screaming build the houses. Mm-hmm. And the Aboriginal tribe is just supposed to go, well, that's capitalism, I guess. What are we going to do? We got the land. They got the people.
Yeah. As long as your tax rates are going to comply, since we all speak English, I can say this to you. As long as your tax rates are going to be right. Not onerous, we're down to go along with whatever you're ordering us to do.
You do speak English, yes? The person looks confused.
Right. Well, yeah, or, save the bullets. The killing ray will be operation in 3 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he gives us a jaw-dropping revelation that there is only going to be 2 taxes in the world, a flat 8% income tax and 1% property tax for local governments. So again, this is, if this was happening in this is the equivalent in like Marvel Infinity War, when like every hero in the world has started appearing to like blast the bad guys, in that 5-minute set piece of just like, right. So the audience is going nuts in the theater, and this is that moment in the book. He's announcing flat 8% income tax rates and 1% property taxes, and just like people are like pumping their fists. And it's playing that the James Horner score, just like this badass like moving thing. It's just a huge moment.
I don't have anything more for Article 18.
What else do we have? Oh, this was good. He said the market economy and economic statutes we are setting up will prevent juggling or tampering with rules for any type of monopolizing or profiteering. In other words, we won't allow any leeway for anyone to squeeze or exploit people. So there you go. I mean, how are you going to prevent monopolies or people being exploited? You don't allow it. As opposed to our current system where we say that this is fine and something we allow, and then it happens anyway. This is just going to be something that, I suppose we don't have a killing wave, or at least if we do, we haven't proven willing to use it. But that's, it's a funny, just trust people's best instincts, because that's clearly working out fine.
Yeah, I think that comes up a lot when they're just talking about justice and stuff too, where they just go like, we should let people know that they shouldn't steal from other people. And then we should have a system where they're punished. Yeah. Like, what is wrong with this guy?
This was my only last note in this one, because this was after George Kirkman felt ecstasy here.
Sure.
This is just, he says, Dr. Kim, you've really touched my heart. I am so happy to hear your basic ideas, which confirm my ideas identically.
That is a thing that happens over and over again.
Yeah.
It's only I think at the meetings with Mr. Lee, where there's been any sort of disagreement, like a little bit of, I kind of agree, but what about this?
Yeah.
Kind of a yes and more than
sure.
But these are not even yes ands. These are just yes.
Yeah. So I think if I ever find myself in the boardroom where someone is presenting ideas for $1 billion business deals, that's just going to be my strategy, is just to say, those were exactly my ideas too, sir. That's exactly what I would have said. So let's just move ahead with your idea. We're both very smart here.
Yes, Andy from The Office, right? Personality mirroring.
Yes, exactly. You proposed it, and I agree with it. So it's a real collaboration here. But the way the chapter ends is it says, George Kirkman had arranged enough manpower and basic organizations to achieve the supreme order given to him. In the following last article, we will see whether Kirkman cabinet is going to touch Utopia or not.
I mean, you can't set it up any better than that.
And it would be a spectacular thing if it just turned out, well, that didn't work. Whew. Oh, man. So many people lighting themselves on fire to protest this. We've got to give in and go back to the way things were. Well, we tried. Gave it our best shot.
If it had been he had pulled the rug, and then this was the satire, and and then he showed it like, I made you read a whole book. Yeah, you idiots. This is what it would look like.
Yep. It would be
spoiler alert.
Moment.
I don't think it goes that way.
It doesn't go that way. But there were questions. It was will the Troika resurface? I don't remember how many chapters it's been. It's been probably 7 or 8 since they were even mentioned. Will Miss O'Hara return to her home planet? Do we get to see how that plays out? Mm-hmm. Will Sequoia and Kirkman get it on? Those were my 3 main questions here, and they all get answered. Some less satisfying than others. But Article 19 is called Utopia. It starts very interesting just in terms of just a turn of phrase he uses. It says, this is the first sentence of the chapter. Not only anthropologists, but also psychologists, neuroscientists, literatures, and people of all walks of life ponder and pound out what the human mind truly is. So I think, that's what Descartes was doing when cogito ergo sum. He was really just pounding out what he thought the human mind really was.
Yes, the Westminster Confession of Faith begins with that. How shall we pound out what the human mind truly is?
Yeah, honey, don't disturb me. I got to go there and pound out. Give me 20 minutes. I'm going to pound out a description of whether I think, therefore I am.
I feel like the fan was going for quite a while. Yeah, it was pounding out the human mind.
But so this is also another meeting. And I think he uses a weird euphemism for what he's trying to do here. Because we've gotten the economic things, but he says there's like a second facet of what's going to require this to work, which is like it's presented by Dr. Wolfgang Thierst, and it's going to be the ideally behaved mentality. Is that what it keeps saying?
He finally, at the end of the chapter, he comes up with the tag, like, the Great Leap Forward tag comes at the end.
Reassuring comparison.
Spoiler alert, that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, they're going to reshape human beings.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So the phrase is said in a lot of ways, and then at the end, the president says what it is. So we'll wait for that.
Yeah. But he's euphemistically alluding to it, saying like, now President Kirkman badly needed an assurance of success in establishing the right mentality for people's way of thought. So I guess that's just the company line, like what thoughts are we going to allow and what we're not. We've already eliminated lying, but we need you to think the right thoughts. Just like the little boy.
Word re-education never comes in, but it's
heavily implied. Yeah.
Here we go. Dr. Wolfgang Thierst was supposed to handle the formation of ideally behaved mentality, constructing the most valuable support that would make the global government's commanding activities possible.
Okay.
And so keep in mind, he says a lot during the book that the general person is very excited about what the global government is doing. So as they're, forming the lines, like, you go in there, we're going to do a little snip on your, in your brain. Don't worry about it. People are like, sounds good. Woo! They're giving him the double thumbs up. Yes. Like, I get to go in this line, Todd.
Yeah.
His buddy Rob is like, sweet, I'm going in this. They're going to clip my gonads off. It's for my good.
There's a line of people out the door just being like, do you have any extra spots? Were there any cancellations before? Like, nope, sir, please. Turning people away. Come on.
Oh, man.
But it starts with the meeting. I think Dr. Thierst, it's the middle of January 2017, and he says, "Good morning, Dr. Thierst. How is everything these days?" "Well, very well, President Kirkman. Happy New Year." "How is Miss O'Hara?" "Happy New Year to you too. It is already the middle of January now." So I thought that was just a delightful little Larry David situation, being like, "Hey, you can get me a Happy New Year in the middle of February." I mean, it's
exactly, that would be what if I did that to you? Like, I'd be mad. Yeah, of course you would. You'd be mad. But he continues with that. Miss O'Hara is happy these days. Nobody bothers her. No incident has gone against her will either. So, Happy New Year indeed.
Yes, exactly.
No one has gone against my will. As you walk through it, everyone like cowers in the corner.
It's a good way to measure happiness, though. I mean, how do you measure happiness? I mean, I think that whether incidents have gone against your will in your day-to-day life is a pretty good one.
It slightly reminded me of, we did a feature film in Prince's, the late, great Prince, in his studio, and at the height of his fame, this guy I knew managed his whole studio, and that was when he changed his name, and so no one knew what to call him. Yep. And so everyone was striding through the hallways of his place and in Chanhassen, and they didn't know what to do. And so they would look at him and they would say, "Hey, Prince," and then he'd go fire that guy. So then they had to come up with something, and then so an official edict was just look towards the wall, away from Prince, and say, "Hey, man," because he'd fire you if you didn't address him at all.
Nice.
But if you addressed him incorrectly, he'd fire you. So that was what they established as official thing, was just like, look the other way, walk on the extreme opposite side of the hall, and go, "Hey, man," while not looking at him.
It's oddly informal.
Yes. But it's the same thing. Like, he's got a killing wave, and,
Yes, very similar.
no one goes against his will, so he's having a happy new year.
It's about as close as you can get, really. I mean... but I've never been in a situation where I've been told not to make eye contact with a person. I would like to see how I'd respond, because it probably would have some degree of importance assigned to it, but it would be a hard thing to try to suppress that instinct, or just to see what it would feel like to make the forbidden eye contact would be very tempting, I would think.
Yeah. How do you avoid eye contact with? It's like the first time someone ever pointed a camera at me. I was always, I was a stage actor, and it's like, don't look at the camera. It's like, well, now I'm going to look at the camera.
Don't think of an elephant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is good that nothing has gone against her will. Although, all those people immolating themselves in Thailand and Korea, like that was purely her will. I mean, those are minor incidents, I guess it said. So I guess she probably
what did she call them? Side
incidents? Yeah.
Side problems.
I guess those are just, she probably didn't even take notice of them. They were so much on the side.
Here's where, once again, Dr. Kim, a.k.a. Connor Listoka, frightens me. If the government would make a success in establishing the right mentality for the people's way of thought on its social life, the government would already have achieved the most of its target. If not, even the God would not be able to achieve it. So Charles Kim just put himself above God himself.
Go. Yeah, I mean, he did, I think, called the military omnipotent at some point in time. So it just there was a little bit of equalizing going on there. He does touch on this as well, because this is sort of touching on morality and all these big questions here, ethics. And he says, if they respect their own belief in God, they have to respect others' beliefs in different gods, or deism, or even atheism. So that was a, oh, wait, you're serious? Like, good. Have you paid attention to anything that's ever happened in the history of the world, sir? He just sort of he grants that that's going to be something that people do because we tell them to.
And I just have to bring up at that point, like, he says it casually, but, what if they're into child sacrifice? Am I supposed to respect it? I don't know. But isn't that the wording of that isn't that almost exactly how the Bob Crane thing starts in patriotism?
I highlighted a different quote that I thought reminded me exactly of the Bob Crane quote. Okay. So I do have it here. The other quote that reminded me of it was, if you respect your perspective, at least, you need to have grace and generosity to acquiesce to those of others. So the Bob Crane quote is, if we learn to care for others, to respect others, we'll learn how to care for, to respect our country.
Okay.
So they are very, very similar.
Okay.
That's from the riff track short Patriotism. If you haven't seen that, seek it out. It's one of the first ones we ever did, and it has just Bob Crane, who, I think he had some side incidents of his own, as we all know, that the ethical committee here might have objected to. Although, the Troika was doing some pretty similar things, I think. But
they didn't. I don't know that they're taping it like he did, but
he does. He gives a very much improvised one take lecture about patriotism, quote unquote, that is as tangentially related to it as anything Charles Kim wrote here.
Right. But we get this thing. This is the one that I thought was hilarious. Is that so? I think it's Dr. Tiercy. We don't know how to. Sometimes it has a T on the end, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to just say Tiercy. And Kirkman, he says, "How's it going?" The whole Happy New Year. Yeah, I talked to Miss O'Hara a lot. I feel she actually lives in this town, New York City. Really? And then he goes, "Yeah, I think so." Anyhow, so. First of all, what is she like slipping in mentions of how the pizza where she lives is so good because of the minerals in the drinking water, or like going, there's just such an electricity to this town. Like, oh yeah, no, I know, I visited. No, you have to live here, man. It's just so vibrant.
The city's its own character, It's
yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's very.
But also no follow up. Like, she just lives in New York. She just got a one bedroom walk up.
Yeah,
she buys her groceries at that one of the corner bodegas.
Yeah, she can't get good salsa anywhere. That's her main complaint. All the salsa they make there is terrible.
This is New York City.
But yeah, they haven't really expanded upon what her fiction is here in terms of whether she. So it's hard to say. And she's also killed. The only person she's used the killing ray on was the one who was trying to figure out where she was from. So it's very dangerous territory he's tiptoeing into here. You know, that was the one guy.
Oh, maybe that's why he passes over it so quickly. Like,
yeah.
Oh, do you think she lives in New York City? And then he looks around nervously, like,
he's giving him the throat cut, like,
no further questions.
It was a very odd aside because it's, as we know, they are located in either Joshua Tree or somewhere out in California where they actually are. So he's not only wading into a very dangerous part of the pool here, but he's also getting it wrong.
Right. And then he immediately goes into, once again, I just want to highlight this because it's wrong. And you just don't want to have, anytime there's great new organizations that say, we're going to force this thing on you. And like, first, President Kirkman, we have to solidify a fine program and schedule for consolidating world's more than 600 languages into one. And then no more said about that. Second, there are 1,700 languages.
Right.
So you're off by a huge factor already.
Right.
And you're going to force these people with a killing ray or with an omnipotent military to speak a new language.
And that sentence is one of the greatest, sort of head shaky two things that cannot possibly, oil and water, exist together. Consolidating world's more than 600 languages into one. Second, to practice and provide a generous tolerance to various religions and cultures.
That's where I think he's veering into parody.
Yeah, that's just there's just so when you think about how people are still doing like translations of the Odyssey, where it's like this one has captured a nuance that like all the other revered ones never did. They've identified this meaning that like we now understand this cultural thing that the other ones didn't do. He's just saying we're going to protect all culture, but everything's in English. These religious ceremonies that these people were doing, like now they're going to be in English, but they'll still maintain the same subtleties and importance, even though they're doing them in a language they didn't know yesterday.
Oh, they're lighting themselves on fire again in protest. Side problem. Don't want to hear about it. But keep in mind, you just said, I'll just continue reading from there. You said the phrase generous tolerance to various religions and cultures. And then following right after that. Third, to firmly apply heavy penalties on all crimes to lay out a maximum protection to honest and hardworking people.
There we go.
And by the way, we decide what the crimes are. The other cultures are not allowed to do that.
Yeah, and he's always said, we saw the people who did the coup were executed, I believe, but he keeps talking about how all these penalties are going to be heavy or severe. So it's never just, he's making his might felt in that thing. He's never laid out exactly what, but I'd like to, before we move on, because he does talk about what some of these crimes are going to be, we got a great stage direction, which was Dr. Thierce sat on his comfortable chair with relaxed composure and explained his deeply meditated idea to Kirkman using the style of common and easy topic. You can all imagine what that would look like.
It's very important for him, I feel, when these people are, talking about tax rates and stuff like that. He really wants to convey that, no, the other person was charmed by this. So in his view, as this, costume jewelry designer was buttonholing people at parties, and just they were like looking over at other people having fun, going like, oh my God. Yes. It's like, I'm going to write a book and explain to you that what I'm saying is actually extremely interesting, you prick.
Yes. Yeah, he's pretty much just imagining, like George Clooney holding court at an Oscars after party talking about, some amazing story he has. And that's what every single character who explains his manifesto is being received the same way.
Sipping a dry martini and just, tugging out one of his French sleeves. And
backslapping, laughter.
Let me go on a little further about the tax rates that are coming.
Oh, Mr. Clooney, that's Mr. Kim. This was good because this is sort of the first time this gets mentioned, and it's one of those. It doesn't need to be mentioned because everything is such vagaries. But he says, seventh, to set up all types of social ventilating countermeasures to deal with social problems such as gambling, drug abuse, drunk driving, prostituting practice, and other things. And he mentions, I think this is the first time he's mentioned prostitutes, but it does get mentioned a couple times in this thing. So it's just an interesting thing to be sort of slipped in at the last minute. And I was really hoping it would just be a sticking point for someone, the way you said earlier that like Dr. Lee was always doing the yes and, but being like, whoa, we're going to be outlawing that? That's, let's, table that.
You sure you want to? Well, yeah, we'll put a pin in it. We'll circle
What
back.
day does it take effect? Because people are going to have to be getting, getting their share before that kicks in.
Well, I think you read the part of like telling him what you're going to tell him. And here's later in the, telling. Human society, no matter how it refines its social fabric, suffers from indigenous indignities of innate... All right, settle down, Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Pappy.
Dr. Pappy. Human nature, such as kleptomania, gambling inclination, drug abuse, a matter of sexual catharsis through prostitutions, and other unusual bents. So, constant... thrashing Troika sex?
Yep.
Does that
as pure
that's
as
just
driven
normal...
snow? Yes,
yes. That is outside the other unusual bents. That's going to be, as always, when you ask someone to write a law, like, we'll just stop other unusual bents. Okay, write that out. How do we write that in the form of a law? Yeah. How do you say that? What language will you use?
And it's. I guess that's the sort of thing that leaves things open to interpretation for future courts. If this is the Constitution, in 200 years, they'll be like, what did the founder mean by this? As they're being like, can furries have sex in public? And it's like, well, that falls under the unusual bents clause, which is, all encompassing. So we're able to ban that type of thing.
Emanations from the penumbras. I'll know it when I see it.
Yes,
kind of
there
stuff.
You go. Before that, there was this is where it started just, like we said, he's slipping in prostitution here, unusual bents, and he's also putting in some truly maniacal shit that really, gives away the plot here. It's under the section of severe penalization on all crimes. It says it says that crimes are a noxious part in human behavior. Some people have a stronger desire, not able to listen to its conscience, while others have a stronger conscience able to control its desire. Established in general moral code, steady and intensive education, and clear recognition of severe penalization. Yeah, those are all good ways, I guess, to prevent people from doing crimes. And some hormone treatment could reduce an excessive desire to make the person able to control the criminal impulse. So there we go.
We got to it.
Shoplifting, hormone treatment. Get in there, and we're going to rewrite your DNA, baby. And then right after that is a fourth, an ideal people's commune. Homogeneity of a society caters a better environment for the people of the same category. Not only welfare recipients, but also terminal patients, handicapped people, and repeating criminals will feel better and behave better when they live collectively. So we're going to be concentrating them, into some form of camp, so to speak. The handicapped and terminally ill people and petty criminals will all be set aside there. All right, sir. Insane.
Yeah, that's where it got scary, and I was afraid to read to the end. That's abhorrent, but he doesn't go any farther than that.
No, but it's that's it's a pretty bold claim for what we're doing here.
And again, this guy hands you his book, and you work for him or something like. Sir, I'm gonna take that job as a sandwich artist. I don't need this much.
Yeah. Costume jewelry, as we all know, extremely lucrative. But I can't abide by this idea of collective living, quote, for handicapped people.
This is just one tossed in the middle of this, and this is something he likes to say a lot. Fifth, A free education paid up to PhD degree. Education should not cost any money to the young before they enter sociality, is what he puts. It does. I mean, okay, it raises a question. I'm a teacher. Do I get paid?
Right.
No, it's free. So I have to show up every day and work? Like, yes, you do. What happens if I don't? I think you know what happens if you don't.
Yes. And so once I achieved this PhD, like, what do I do with that? Oh, I teach other PhDs for free.
You teach others. But he does that a lot, and free childcare and stuff. So, childbirth and care, institutions for the elderly and disadvantaged, and prevention of domestic violations are going to greatly help social stabilization. So again, what, helicopters touching down in, remote Australia and going, do you guys have childbirth and care institutions for the elderly? All right, well then get on your knees and hands over your head.
Yeah,
we're gonna make that happen.
Any kleptomaniacs or nymphomaniacs? Raise your hand. Any gamblers?
Just join that line over there.
Yes. You'll be marched off to our concentrated living. The word of the true social conscience uttered by Dr. Thierse did strike President Kirkman's heart like a thunderbolt. He felt a great rapture. He beamed. He embraced Dr. Thierse, appreciating his pungent wit. So that's all that stuff that we've read to you. Obviously, there's paragraphs and paragraphs more of it. That was we thought it was as dry and boring and monstrous as can be, but apparently it's pungent wit.
And that's the phrase they finally settle upon, because he said, "True social conscience." And the true social conscience, this is the president, must embody the spirit of the most appropriate single power word to express our philosophy of the global government. Let's stage an organized propaganda of the great concept. Maybe is Leni Riefenstahl available? Or
do governments use the term propaganda, or I always feel like that's a loaded term to apply to something you don't like,
Educate. Sure, yeah. Educate.
It's very funny they're saying the quiet part loud there.
Yes. He felt rapture. He embraced him. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. He beamed.
Yeah. He stood up from his chair where he had been relaxing with relaxed composure. And I think that's the first non-sexual hug we've had in this whole thing. Although who knows where it's headed.
So I wondered at times, did during Watergate, as they were talking about the break-in, and then Nixon was like, what you just said has caused great rapture in my heart. Let me embrace you. Mr. President,
bring it in, Haldeman.
Come on. Oh, back and forth with the hug. This is getting uncomfortable. Do you have something in your pocket, Mr. Nixon? Oh, that's just my tape recorder. Oh.
That's a dog treat for Checkers. But then they go on to planning this propaganda, which essentially, I don't know if it's the same or different from the air show, but it's like a big military display that he says people will enjoy, each one's significance and nimbleness. They're also planning, as you said, Leni Riefenstahl. He says we'll use a form of briefing on the logistical readiness of a unit of one corps. This will be implemented through a 30-minute motion picture. So that sounds exciting. What's it about? We will spotlight all types of transportation, warehousing systems, and communications dealing with various issues. So that's nicely Ernest Kleinian there. Just a variety of 80s dance moves. It's just communications with various issues.
Right.
I don't know how people are going to really be able to focus on that when you've already thrilled them with the warehousing systems. But I trust you, sir.
During the early day, well, not early, but the middle of the preparing for the war, and when the Soviet Union first set up their thing, they would announce the amount of tractors that they were producing at that there was a huge factory in Stalingrad that they would crank out these tractors, and they would go we produced 400 units today, and people would cheer. Because if they didn't, the killing ray. So, but I thought that was a funny thing.
Yes.
Many, many packets of food. Also tractors. Like, woohoo!
The world government on the move. But it would have been perfect if there had just been some. When was this written? 2008. If there had just been some slice of 2008 cinema, just being like, if he had name dropped, he's like, and we're gonna have Mick G directing this. That hot actor Shia LaBeouf, and or maybe that Josh Trank, who made the Fantastic Four movie. Just something that aged really poorly would have been a delightful slice of life here.
It would have been great if that was the one piece of pop culture that penetrated his
McGee's Charlie's Angels movies.
Yes. Watches them over and over again on his combination VHS TV that he plugs into the bottom of the
right. Yes.
While he's in the back of the shop.
It will be released on HD DVD, the preferable system. That's the only one we're going to allow under the Super Constitution.
Did I hear someone say something else? Killing Ray. HDTV, superior. It allows 60 frames per second. I don't hear any argument. Okay, we'll continue. Here's what he says about the third. I don't know what's first and second. I guess what did you say, warehouses?
The 30-minute motion picture and I think a demonstration, which I maybe was the air show or not.
Third, we will operate first-class fireworks on Earth, shooting rockets and missiles from ground, ocean, surface, underwater, and in the air, dropping smart bombs and exploding targets with super accuracy, and performing dexterous wielding of automatic guns, which will discharge 3,000 rounds of bullets a minute to cover certain area without any missing, like torrential raindrops.
Wow.
So... shock and awe on their own people. Overwhelming show of force and C-130s raining down 50 cals on them.
I just hope they're planning on doing it during May, because if it's like in August, that's going to be hard to get people to stand outside in that heat. It's not the best weather on Earth.
Honey, do you need a sweater? Like, I did not expect it to have a little bit of nip in the air. And if you could just step to the left, because they are raining lead down right next to you.
3,000 rounds per minute. Did not look into that, but I assume that's just like insanely overpowered and unnecessary.
That's a lot, yes.
But no mention of the killing wave here. We're gonna take one of the...
I just have a big why on this. Like, why are you doing this? Is Miss O'Hara going like, wait, this is redundant, man?
Yeah.
That was the whole point. The whole point of the Super Constitution is being forced by the killing wave. And so you have that already. This is redundant.
I think it's just one of those things where, if you have the bomb that kills people but leaves buildings standing, it's just not as impressive on a cinematic scale, I guess. So you just got to have all these exploding things underwater and blowing up targets with super accuracy. Killing wave just sort of makes people have a heart attack in 3 minutes, and it doesn't translate as well to the IMAX screen.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's like the the rare people who visit North Korea, they have like a shopping center where they bring you to that's on the border, and they turn on the lights, but most of the time the lights are off, and they turn on the heat in advance of it, and then they walk you through this, Potemkin village thing. Yeah. And they go, look at the wonderful, place that there's a Cold Stone Creamery, and there's like a terrified person sweating, like making ice cream. And then people report like, no, it seems like they're doing fine there. And then they shut it off and wait for 3 months until somebody else comes in.
God.
That's what this is like, I guess.
Pretty much, although everyone seems to be on board with it,
Oh, here they go. People felt at ease and comfortable about the global spirit as the magnificent military reviews went on under the banners of social conscience. Oh, my God.
Yes.
No one felt dread and fear as the 3,000 rounds of bullets a minute started covering them.
Plugging wearing a gun range level ear protection. Just, honey, this really puts me at ease. How about another glass of lemonade?
The people at the German air show, the 40 of them who still lived after the F-120 or whatever crashed into the audience, they felt at ease and comfortable about the screams and fire that were happening around them.
Let alone the implications of what that was going to step out of line and be hammered down.
Yes.
But here we go. I guess that was Miss Sequoia proposing that, who's now General Sequoia, also Madam Sequoia. She's all of them. She wears a lot of hats. He replies, General Sequoia, it sounds like the greatest show ever done on the earth. So he's definitely avoiding the trademark infringement there, which, yes. As president of the one world government, he probably could claim that from the Ringling Brothers Circus. But he's respectful, I guess. We haven't really ventured into trademark law during all this manifesto. But.
Oh, that's true. There has been no intellectual property mention whatsoever. Yeah. But yeah,
I think a lot of implications about that. Where if we want it, we're probably going to be taking it are spelled out here in the subtext.
That would be very funny if the first lawsuit filed against the great government was from the circus.
Right. All right.
You can't use that phrase.
Yes.
That's ours.
That's some patent troll in Texas who just registered a bunch of domains and is squatting on, President Kirkman's cabinet.net.
Nuisance lawsuits.
She says, President Kirkman is a ready response to a general. He says, because the general said, since human written history started, the world has had the most powerful military strength. Nevertheless, that is also only a single existence, and I worry a little it might overshadow politics. So this is someone who's expressing doubt here, which, has happened to all of count on one hand the amount of times in the book. And President Kirkman says, I understand some people's concern on a single dominant muscle power of our military organization. All right, I'm good he understands. But I feel a different way. Which is delivered in a Mr. Burns like, I disagree type of thing.
Yes.
Finger on a button.
I love, though, that so sitting there writing his manifesto, like that's the best he could do for, his Socratic dialogue with the people who have doubts about his stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, is a single military thing dominant? Does that raise any concerns for you? It does. I feel differently. Oh, you're not going to go into any reasons why my concerns are like, nope, I'm just going to hand wave it away.
That's the power of the killing ray. It tends to shut down your high school debate class.
That's true.
And we are nearing the end here. We get one more date skip ahead here after this last meeting where it skips ahead to May 5th, 2017. I forget what the whole journey of this book has been. I think it started in May of 2012, was it? Man.
When did therefore everything that happens before 2016?
Yeah, it was started the story begins in the early summer of 2016. Okay, I guess that's when Miss O'Hara revealed herself.
Okay.
So it's it's been a surprisingly concentrated amount of meetings and everything that we've had here, because all this has taken place in just a matter of months, I guess.
Yes, and so May, the best weather in the world.
Oh yeah, so that's what they're skipping ahead to, May, and so they can do this demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do the first formal review of the World Armed Forces, and it says the spectacular scene had captured and impressed the minds of the people, inspiring them to fantasize about the world's monstrous power. A little monstrous power for Daddy is what we're getting there. So,
honey, come to bed. Just a minute. Fantasizing about the world's monstrous power.
Why is the fan on again?
I'm pounding it out, okay?
And it says the 5 days of consecutive grand shows of the armed forces' various brilliant facets had brought a striking effect on the favorable understanding of the people for realizing the unprecedented towering power of the global government. So yeah, it's a little, a poll. Like, how would you rate the unprecedented towering killing power? Oh, favorable. We've been getting a lot of that lately.
The way that he writes this is, it's sort of the flowery language followed by the, we will grind you into dust. It's kind of like, training an animal or so. You're giving them a treat and then like zapping them with a zapper. Like, huh? You want to have a little something? There you go, you son of a... We can kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm favorable towards it. I'm favorable.
Yep, heavily favorable. That's what your polling has once again been 100%, Mr. President. And
oh yeah, I wonder if Kirkman would golf 18 holes.
Oh yeah, that was Kim Jong. The first one,
Un?
The first one,
Il or Un? Yeah, I don't know.
One of the most spectacular claims that's ever been put out there by a dictator. 18 holes.
First time he played
in one match too, like just that many.
It was the first time he played.
Nice.
Yes.
Did he bowl a perfect game too, or am I just making that up?
I don't know.
Regardless, that is a brief aside about the spectacular air show. And then, do you have anything else?
Oh no, I want to get into this. This is like, yeah. He does land this plane, ladies and gentlemen. You'd think it would just kind of end with like the president gazed at his future, which was bright, and the end. But no.
Nope.
Oh, here we go.
It's still the same chapter, and this is the final 3 pages of the book. We get a flash forward 3 years. It's all caps, 3 years after the first formal review of the World Armed Forces. So it's the first part of May 2020. So,
great weather.
It's great weather. As it proved out, May of 2020, one of the best months of all of our lives in retrospect. Things had just been trending upward, going great. Everyone was happy. But we get this mention, the Troika of Brenda, John, and James, reappearing for the first time in so many hundreds of pages, got together at their usual den of the Vault Room to discuss the matter of their formal and complete return to their private lives. Miss O'Hara's return to her home star, 21 light years away from the Earth. So they're sort of figuring out what is going to happen with this alien that they've invented.
So I'm trying to picture this. Wait. How did she, because she's only done one, did she do a physical appearance when she made a speech?
She did a couple times. Yeah, they sort of had an avatar that was Brenda, I think, mimicking, like you do on our Zoom meetings where they put an animal over you and it mimics your facial expressions and things. But they just picked a real hot avatar of Miss O'Hara.
So Brenda wore a beret that was superimposed over her and
goatee, yeah.
And didn't she have to do a follow-up speech to sort of clarify? Wasn't that one of the things? Like, yeah, look. Like, I think people I don't remember. Anyway, right. So I'm trying to picture, how does Miss O'Hara return to her home star? Because, again, no death ray. They've killed one person with a death ray, right? Yeah. The others, the coup, were all like, yeah, they were all beheaded or, lethal injection. Yeah. We don't really know. But here's how it happened. Brenda had used a virtual image, scare quotes, of her home star as O'Hara, scare quotes, in order to impress the sudden appearance of the Troika's enigmatic technology on the world. Mm-hmm. When? Parentheses, actually around April 2007, astronomers of the current world had found a potentially habitable planet about 1.5 times larger in diameter than Earth, orbiting the star of Glia's 581c, located 20.5 light years away in the constellation Libra. Oh, that's how they did it. Okay, well, now
that's one hell of an aside.
That cleared everything up. So the world is convinced of that because in April 2007, I still don't understand what that means. Do you know what that means?
I was absolutely baffled, and I couldn't bother to look if that was something that had actually happened. But yeah, I guess that's a real star. It's claimed to be orbit the Gliese 581 system, 20 light years from Earth. It's unconfirmed and frequently disputed.
Oh, okay.
I wish I had looked into that ahead of time. That'd be interesting to see. But I guess that is something that existed, and maybe the discovery of that planet was what inspired him to write this whole thing down.
So he calls it O'Hara.
Yeah.
They call it the orbiting star Gliese 581c.
Yeah, it's listed on Wikipedia as Gliese 581g. So maybe that's been some things have been clarified in the meantime. But what I'm seeing here is there is no in popular culture section of the Gliese 581g's thing.
Dear.
And so, I mean, we have some chance to really add some much needed context to this Wikipedia page.
See if you can do it.
Yeah.
See how quickly it gets taken down.
Get on it, folks. This needs to happen. I mean, it's indisputable. It's right there. It's the only mention. It's unless it was an Interstellar or something.
Oh, could be. So that follows up with, okay, so they used a virtual image.
Yeah.
And then the world believed them, I guess, because in 2007 astronomers found O'Hara, or, quote unquote O'Hara. So all that over, now the Troika had acknowledged that their idea of the superconstitution had worked out for the wonderful result.
Oh, all right.
So is this them going like, hey, sorry, everyone, we were kidding? It was us all along, but we do have a killing ray. Mm-hmm. In other words, does anyone give a rat's ass if there is a if they have the killing ray still? Like, you continue to do what we asked you to do, or we'll kill you. Mm-hmm. We were kidding about. I don't understand that they acknowledge that the super constitution had worked
I think
out.
They're getting back together and sort of having this meeting amongst themselves, because it said earlier they were going to make their formal and complete return to their private lives. So I think it's just them abandoning this overseeing role and just being like, now we're just going to step back, and I don't know who mans the killing ray in Joshua Tree, but it's going to be... We've given this enough time that we now know it's going to work. Everything's working wonderfully, and we can pursue our other interests. I don't think they're revealing themselves.
Okay, so the killing ray, which sits there, which now they've gone back, they're retired. Mm-hmm. They're chopping wood at a cabin in the mountains with their dog because their wife is dead. Whatever. Mm-hmm. So the killing ray is just kind of sitting there. So does... Kirkman's kind of overseeing it, but does Tiercy kind of come in and go, hey, I signed up for the killing ray. Is that available? Like, well, I don't know. Check the board. And, there's like on the door, there's like a sign-in sheet. And like Tiercy's like, I'm going to go in there. Yeah. I'm going to use it from 3 to 4. There's some side problems.
Yeah. My brother-in-law said that a guy in his office Super Bowl squares pool didn't pony up. It's been 2 weeks, and he's just like not responding to the Venmo request. So let me use the killing ray.
Yeah, because like Miss O'Hara, they claim has gone up to she's
done the I have to go. My planet needs me. Yes,
yes.
I mean that's exactly what has happened.
So then, do people go? Well, wait. If O'Hara's gone, who's got the killing ray? And he never says that.
No, it's been the most underutilized killing wave, I think, in all of fiction. It's so disappointing.
It's true, yes.
But the reason people don't care about that is because everything has worked out great. It says George Kirkman's cabinet had striven for the successful operation of the global government's target, managing more than a 13% growth a year of the world's GDP, which we gloss all over this, but that was the economic advisor's target goal was 13%. So
yes.
Achieved it.
So he nailed
while
it.
Achieving greater strides in social services to the disadvantaged and the needed, and covering complete medical benefits for every walk of life under the banner of social conscience. So just everything worked out. That everything's fine. No conflict or anything. It just everything that I proposed was a great idea.
And so here's the mop-up. As usual, Brenda initiated the talks.
Mop-up is putting it very lightly. This is just a stunning revelation here.
All right. You make the revelation.
Okay, so here we go. This is every one of them is sort of gonna. This is the finale of Ocean's 11, where everyone is, or Animal House, where everyone's going to announce what they're pursuing as the credits roll. Brenda says, John and James, I'm very happy to see the current development of the world political situation overall. I am sure the global government is thoroughly managing sophisticated world affairs to achieve utopia on Earth. Also, I am so happy for us to return to our private lives, to concentrate our research, and devote decent attention to raising our kids. So that's a big what moment. She goes on to say, I'd like to continue to study the human cell organism to enable humans to live up to 120 years without major diseases. So that sort of seems like a little bit of an unambitious follow-up after, uniting the world under one super constitution. I mean, just 120? My grandmother is 104 already, and she didn't have any of these crazy advantages.
Right.
She's going strong.
And it is funny. Like, hey, remember when we were, graduating, and we said, what would you like to do? I was like, oh, I want to, achieve a one world government through the use of a killing ray. I did want to run a full marathon.
Yeah. Bucket list.
So check that off. And I did want to continue to study the human cell organism to enable the humans to live up to 120 years. So now I don't know what to do. Yeah. Now I'm looking around going, wow, should I be on some boards or something? I don't know.
Yeah, write my mystery novel, I guess.
And you know what? I do have my kids.
Yeah, and here we go.
Here we go.
During the last 6 years, Brenda had given birth to one daughter with John and one son with James. So they're just fully living the polyamorous life here as the Troika.
Wow.
It's incredible. A pretty girl of 5 years old and a cute boy of 3 years old. The kids were growing in healthy development physically and mentally. So, Grandpa, like, what is your message here? Because you've made everything crystal clear that it was just a thought you had that you wanted the world to implement. What are we meant to take away from this?
I love that as he's like explaining, like it's deep into the night, you've had enough beers, yeah. You're like, I hear you got some crazy. Let me hear him. And he's like, yeah, one world government. Like,
right,
well,
cool.
How would that work? And
yeah.
That hour and a half later, like, what else you got, old man? Well, also, I'm pretty into polyamory. Wait, what? That's no big deal. Like, no, wait, shit, I should have been focusing on that. Yes. Why did I ask you about the one world government?
Yeah, I got to turn in, but just sleep on that. That's what Grandpa thinks here.
No, I'm leaving in the morning. I got to get up early. Oh, shit.
So, yeah, they've sussed out which one was which. So that means she had to have just been only banging John at some point in time for enough period of time to be sure it was his daughter, and then 2 years later that with James they sort of paired off only for that time. So I don't know what the other one was doing during that period of time. He certainly wasn't visiting prostitutes. We know how that's understood in this thing, but
sure. But you don't think that they
there could be
like X-rayed their brains or whatever to know who's?
I guess that could be the thing. It's like, well, I'm certainly not going to stop banging both of you. So I just like when the kid is born, we'll just do the pure like the DNA test. I guess that'll be what we do. It's of all the things in here, like, you go back to those beginning chapters, which is really where the book shone through at its funnest part to talk about, I think. And it really promised that early on. And I guess it was always in the back of his mind. The book probably would have given us a lot more of this if he had his way. But,
so I'd like to, so here's how the dialogue goes. So we get that revelation, which is obviously, 7 spit takes worth of stuff, but she had finished her, she opened the conversation and she initiated the talks, yes, as usual. Sure. And she ended with this: I'd like to continue the study of human cell organism to enable humans to live up to 120 years without major diseases. Mm-hmm. Now I'll skip the in-between and I'll go right to the next piece of dialogue. I feel great too. Wait, John? What, did you just hear what I said?
John, you're zoning out here?
Let me flash a flashlight over your... Oh, my God, it's not dilating. Yes. One of your eyes is dilated, the other is not. John!
This doesn't work if we're not a Troika. Get into the sack one last time.
I feel great, too. What he'd like to do is he'd like to focus his study on nanotechnology. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lifetime of study. Along with ultra-short electromagnetic wave behavior. Seems like you got your hands full. I hope to pin down the mechanism and dynamism of human brain cells neuron. All right, that'll keep you busy till you're 96, which can provide an insight into the innermost essence of the faculties of human memory, emotion, and desire. Hey, buddy, calm down.
Yeah.
If successful, we can control or manage the phenomenon of melancholy, agony, bad feelings, euphoria, orgasms, and ecstasy.
Oh yeah, just had to toss that one in there.
Oh, Grandpa. Grandpa, why?
And so is this sort of like, is this does Brendan like raise her hand and be like, I'd like to revise my goal? Because, I mean, it sort of seems unimpressive compared to this pinning down the neuron of the brain over a lifetime of study. Can I just revise the age up to 150 that I want people to live to?
Yeah, it's like, I said 120. I stumbled. I meant 150.
Yeah, 220. Yeah, double it. But he's managing the phenomena of melancholy, agony, feelings. Oh, good. You're gonna cure depression. Everyone will be happy, and let's get our finger on the pulse of orgasms and ecstasy, because that's pretty important too. Yeah, big weirdo. What on earth is going on?
John, why do you have a microphone, and why are you leaning into it, as you say, and euphoria, orgasms and ecstasy?
Oh, brother. And then James, not to be left alone. I don't remember which is which. I think John Smith he was the descendant of the John Smith. He's the judoist.
He's the judoist,
okay.
I think.
Okay.
And James is the sea lion.
Yeah, the sea lion, yes.
Sea otter.
So he's always sort of been the chump, He's the, if you're thinking about like, X-Men, he's like Iceman, type of thing. Like everyone else can control, people's brains and fly and blasts of light. And he's like, I made some ice. But he is not messing around anymore. He says, you guys are going to make even greater contributions to the world after leaving the scene. For my part, I'm determined to invent a reverse gravity engine, which can propel flying objects 10,000 miles per hour in the atmosphere, 2 times faster than the speed of the bullet, and 500,000 miles per hour in the vacuum of space. I'm also going to find one of the universe's laws spanning the expansion of the universe by the speed of 100 times faster than the speed of light. So he's just being like, and I'm going to become a supervillain. That's what I'm going to do. Like, why else would we have the need for any of that?
I like that that's an addendum. Like, you're going to, like, someone's already saying, like, 500,000 miles per hour? And then he breaks. I'm also going to find one of the universe's laws spanning the expansion of the universe by the speed. No, wait, go back.
Yeah. It's like one at a time. No, just like lay them all out. Those are my goals. Bucket list one by one. I'd also like to, swim with dolphins at some point in time. See the Grand Canyon.
And then his final thing is presently humans figure, this is hard to, like, these people are excited. So this is like over, what is this, over pizza and beer at, this is the Brat Pack doing the St. Elmo's Fire wrap up or something. Like
they're someone's outside honking the car with their loaded thing, like, we got to go, but like one more time.
Presently humans figure that humans can fathom the universe up to the size of 1 billion light years diameter, which represents only a tiny part of the whole universe, like the size of a human cell versus a human body. Again, flashlight into the eye. James, you all right now? What is happening to your brain?
Yeah, I mean, thank God, man, that the world government kept weed legal, man, because I wouldn't have had that thought otherwise.
Do you guys ever think that, like, presently humans figure that humans can fathom the universe up to the size of like 1 billion. James, please.
Geddy Lee lyrics, maybe?
Presently, humans figure.
Perfect. There we go. And not to get ahead of it, but that is the second to last paragraph in the book. And
yes.
We just got the last one is worth doing sentence by sentence. Brenda concluded, well, James's world is much bigger than I thought, and John's world is penetrating into even much smaller units. So I think that's sort of like, you guys go do your thing. It's I'm gonna miss you both most of all, like Dorothy said.
Yes.
She says, I am sure we will see a different world soon. And then she says, sooner or later, I'm going to meet face to face with George Kirkman as an unknown scientist, after we give him an eternal, quote, farewell. What do you think that means?
I'm honestly, I have no idea what that, after we give him an eternal farewell. They're killing George Kirkman?
I mean, if it's not what they mean, that's the only way to interpret that. You know what I mean?
So, but I don't understand this whole like retirement. It's like the it's like a cop show at the end of them. They're all in, well, I can't believe we caught that guy, but he's going to jail for a long, long time. And then like, yep, I'm going to go kill the president. Wait, what?
Right.
What did you just say?
And also, as an unknown scientist, he's not going to be like, oh, Brenda Chen, you're the smartest and hottest woman in the world who's also a fighter pilot that never really had any bearing on those subjects, right? Like, yeah, like I've had your pictures of you in my bathroom for this entire time. You're a well-known person.
You're at that cancer institute, right? That's been just crushing it.
Oh, right. Yeah, they did get a huge $1 million endowment, but and then this is what she says: when I meet him in person, I am sure that even though I say I am the Miss O'Hara, he won't believe it. He will smile at me and probably say, "That's a good joke." The end. The end of Super Constitution.
So she is basically doing, like Chris Farley. Do you remember when you were in the Beatles? Yeah. Like to this guy who's like, like, hey, Mr. President Kirkman, I'm Miss O'Hara. Yeah, that's a good joke. Yeah. I'm going to get in my limo now. I'm going to The Hague. I'll see you.
Yeah, that's preposterous. I was pretty sure she lived in New York, and you said you flew in from Joshua Tree. So, I mean, I think I had to look it up this morning, but and so we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. This blows that out of the water, I think. As concluding lines of a novel go, like just imagining that happening is and then that's a good joke followed by the end is just an amazing way for this quote unquote book / manifesto to end.
I still want to get back to after we give him an eternal farewell. Seems like a thing that should be. Wait, like John and James going, who's doing that? What do you mean we?
Maybe it means that Miss O'Hara is giving her eternal farewell to him, but it certainly reads as we're going to put him into cement shoes and toss him off the bridge. He sleeps with the fishes now.
Yes, I don't want Kirkman killed until my mother has died. Yeah, and take him out on the lake.
But also
have him say a few Hail Marys.
George Kirkman, I mean, he's been suspicious. There's been suspicion in his cabinet about who, Miss O'Hara is, that she's someone on Earth, that she's coming from the thing. Those people were dispatched with, but that people are still probably passing memos back and forth to express their concerns. So I don't think he would necessarily unbelieve that this hot super genius who's been conspicuously absent from the world stage for the past 3 years was Miss O'Hara.
Yeah, I suppose it would be like if the, speaking of manifestos, like the Unabomber walked up to the lead FBI agent because he's got his intelligence agency is still working on it, right?
Right.
Like, hey, Mr. FBI guy, I'm the Unabomber. That's a good joke. I recognize your face. I have an entire dossier on you.
Right.
I know who you are, where you live. We just don't have any solid evidence against you, but you just confessed. So, all right, you're under arrest.
Right. Yeah. And that would be the case where if every other person who had come up to the FBI agent and said, I am the Unabomber, then got Unabombed. But Miss O'Hara comes up and Brenda says, I'm Miss O'Hara. 3 minutes pass and she's not killing waved. So you'd probably take that to heart if she was able to make such a bold claim without being immediately destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, you'd still, even if you were Kirkman and things were humming along, right, mm-hmm. with the you'd still be curious. Someone's got to be asking the questions.
Right.
You don't just go like, hey, remember that whole Miss O'Hara thing? She returned to her star. Who was that, do you think? Could that have been? And then everyone just goes, what does it matter?
Yeah. Don't you remember? We discovered Gleis 581c in April 2007. Oh, right.
All right. Yeah. I have no further questions.
Checks out. Yeah. And the end. That's
the end.
Super Constitution by Charles Kim. Well, that's another book we've put away here. Where do you rank it? It's a hard question, you know. It's like
this is a tough.
It's like if you went to that, Alinea in Chicago and they had a 21-course meal, but some of them were like foams. It'd be like, where does that rank on foods you've eaten? I'm like, well, it's not really food.
Right. It's that, that balloon that you pop in your face or whatever that has the stuff in it. Like, I don't know. First of all, I have to ask you, do you favor when you have all caps, the end at the end of a book? Do you favor the period after the end? I
do. It's a nice nice way to end that sentence.
I do. It did make me laugh.
It's a subtle touch. It's very nice.
It is. And then, all right, before we get to
at
the
least
rankings,
it wasn't the end and then question mark like in some of the
end
sci-fi movies we've gotten before.
I think we've done this before, but I'll do it. I won't say the numbers. Introducing Charles Kim. Born in 1937. Born is with an E.
Yeah, that's nice. Born back into the past.
Immigrated to New York City, 1964, right after graduating Graduate School of Public Administration of Seoul National University.
Mm-hmm. Higher education, you don't say. It's
so it's Charles Kim, GSPASNU,
wow.
I think.
Titus Uno stuff there.
Titus Uno style. Since 1964 to present, that's 2007, being engaged in wholesale and manufacturing, uppercase, business in high fashion costume jewelry. And then his contact information.
Carson, California. I imagine that's that's in the LA area, is it not?
I don't know. I did not. I was going to put the address into the Google Maps, but I didn't do it. Felt like that was a step too far.
I think you might show up to there at 18009 Adria Mooney Lane and be like, "Is this the home of Charleston International?" And it would just be like there'd be nothing there, Be like,
right.
There was never a business here.
There's a plaque recently scraped off the door, like, oh, we're in too deep.
18007 is here in 18011, but there's no 18009. It's there's no 13th floor in some hotels.
Right. Still, I was just in one. There wasn't a 13th floor.
Wow.
I feel that's weird, like a brand new one. Anyway,
settle down.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's as a book, it's clearly the worst thing we've ever read. I think just from the. I mean,
clearly.
It's long. I mean, what was the word count on this? I think it was in the 120.
It's long.
Yeah. So that doesn't help. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was only 86,000 words. So that's just
whoa. It felt long. Yeah.
In terms of reading, though, I mean, I don't feel like there was. I mean, as many books that had as many eye glaze over moments. Just because of all the discussion of tax rates. I don't feel like that's an uncontroversial statement.
I mean, I guess not. I'm trying to think of I probably skipped in. What was the retelling of
Shadow Moon?
From no, the retelling of the Vampire Kids.
Midnight Sun.
Midnight Sun. Yes, I know. I always
Other Celestial Body.
Up. Yes, those I felt like.
That was so long.
It was so long and so like repetitive of them just talking. But this, I mean, this is down there in terms. I'm not going to argue with you that there's anything worse. I just think there's stuff as bad.
I think it's the worst book we've read, but I'll qualify by saying I enjoyed reading it and discussing it more than some of those other books. More than Shadow Moon, definitely. More than Sean Penn. More than that Twilight book. It's just Titus Uno had to have been 30,000 words maybe. This it just had too much of a good thing,
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Titus Uno extended to what did you say? 85,
86,000 words.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. And the way that I have it now, so I had my copy digitized by one of our loyal listeners, Jeffrey, and he sent it back to me, and now it's the binding's been removed, and has two like industrial looking fasteners at the top of it, these silver metal fasteners. So it really has that added manifesto look to it, like because no book's ever been binded that way. So it's a real treat. I don't think I'm going to keep it. I'll probably give it away as a prize, but it really befits the book. It should be published that way.
Well, let's quickly go through them one by one. You have all the books. Yeah, we'll run through. We can't do the definitive list, but we can do better or worse than, and then you can kind of get a sense of that. Yes.
Yeah, just a yay or nay. So we'll start at the start and then take it away. Book 1 was Ready Player One. I'm going Ready Player One.
Yeah, I'm going Ready Player One only because it was more fun to discuss the garbage. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Right.
Getting into the weeds of tax rates doesn't lead to a lot of it. So, yes.
Book 2 was Armada. I'm going to say the same thing. It was just fun to take a book that had swindled so many people and examine it with a critical eye.
I'll agree.
Book 3 was The Eye of Argon. Of course, we like that better.
Way better.
Tech War.
This is well below Tech War.
Yes. 64 Squares.
Below 64 Squares.
Bob Honey.
Above Bob Honey.
This is above Bob Honey. I think so. I mean, that was also sort of a manifesto, really, a alliterated manifesto, but there wasn't anything as joyous as just imagining the authors. This was Grandpa No, and that was just bitter old celebrity No.
Yeah, that was a hard, bitter pill to swallow, but I don't know. They're not that far apart.
I think that's still at the bottom of the rankings, but Book 7 was The Mister.
Oh, we had a lot of fun with that. I enjoyed that much more.
Book 8 was Trucking Through Time. Obviously, that's
that's towards the top.
Yes. Book 9 was Lair of the White Worm. That one wasn't great, but it was just also
it was shorter and it had some fun. Yeah. Yielded some funny stuff.
It was dry. It was more racist than this.
Yes.
Point in it's against it, I guess. Book 10 was Shadow Moon, which to me is still pretty close to the nadir.
That is a tough.
It was just so boring, I feel like, and so devoid of things to latch on to other than him becoming the floor,
Yes.
And the pig girl.
Agreed.
That's all I remember. Just then we had Moon People, which was great. Obviously, was better than Super Constitution.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm.
Digital Fortress, I think, was also pretty fun, and at least it moved along.
Yeah, a little better than yes.
Book 13. What the hell was that? Somehow I've made it. Oh, My Immortal. That was, it was a similar caliber of writing at times, I think. Similar grasp of the language. But
much shorter, though.
Shorter and just, also possibly a joke. So I think that's better.
Still puzzling.
So we've so far said that this is not better. This is better than Bob Honey and possibly Shadow Moon. Midnight Sun. I think this, I think it just the length really worked against it. And I think if we had not seen Twilight, we would have appreciated Midnight Sun a lot less too.
Wait, so you're rating this above Midnight Sun or below?
I think above. I think it's just the weird sex and the weird stuff like that to me elevates it in and it was probably a third of the length.
Yeah, I don't have any strong feelings about that one. I don't really remember. I probably blocked it out. So I'll just go with your recommendation.
Okay. Book 15, Ready Player 2. I'd like that better than this.
Yeah, I'm sure we had more fun.
I mean, it's just more of the same garbage. But remember in Ready Player 2, they had that section where one of the things he had to do to beat the challenge was beating all 32 levels of an arcade game, and he described them level by level. I mean, that's sort of the equivalent of the tax rates that he did in this. Like, it's not that different, which I think is more damning of Ernest Cline than anything. Book 16 was The Quilters Push Back. That's great. That's
towards the top. Towards the top.
17 was Model Land.
I did not enjoy that. Yeah. I know it's just not my cup of tea.
But do you like it better than this? At least it had things happening. Like,
I'm going to say below this.
Wow. I think that
this is above Model Land.
The highs of this book were above the highs of Model Land, but I mean, at least it had a plot. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me. Those are probably the two ones where I am going to toss up on it. You ask me on any given day.
Well, here's what I'll confess to add color to that decision is that the references she was making in Model Land with like going to buildings and things were all obviously from movies and things I hadn't seen. Uh-huh. So it was very hard for me to read her prose and Ernest Cline just tells you, just imagine this scene from this.
Yeah.
And then you can either decide that you know what it is or not. in Model N, I think she was trying for things that it's just not in my wheelhouse, so I just didn't see them. So it irritated me a lot more.
That makes sense. And, it's also another book that's out of print. So these two are more alike than it would seem. Book 18 was Irene Idsley. Irene Idsley.
I'd rate this below that.
Sure, I think so. Again, short and had some unintentionally funny moments that were different type of unintentionally funny, because she was going for that Victorian Gothic novel type of thing and failing miserably. This guy was just going for manifesto and failing miserably. Antigua, Land of Fairy, Wizards and Heroes, book 1. That's better than this.
Oh, it's way better than this.
Book 20, Gump and Co. I think that the highest moments of this, even though they were few, was sort of higher than the moments of that. And there's no tie-in restaurant that we have to attend, fortunately, for Super Constitution.
Yeah, and I think motivation-wise, I prefer a guy writing his manifesto and telling us he wants the world to die under his supreme death ray, as opposed to a bitter guy trying to burn words in a book so he can pay back, so get revenge on a company that screwed him or whatever. Yeah, I prefer the motivation.
Sure, yeah, I agree. Let's put that below this one. And that was it. That was the second most recent book we've done. So Super Constitution, it seems, is in the top of the bottom quarter, I would say. Top of the bottom third.
Yeah,
I think we
ranked
maybe 4 or 5 books underneath it. So, yeah, I think a good addition to the canon, though.
Oh, I'm ultimately glad I read it. I wish it was shorter. But yeah, had a lot of good moments, a lot of good inventions that I don't think any other author would do. Mm-hmm. The weird going to the doctor to have your organs checked out because you're a weird superhuman.
Yeah, the descriptions
it's an innovation.
Judo and the sheer the horniness, but not really knowing how to describe it, like a kid claiming he has a Canadian girlfriend almost, is truly baffling. The octopus, I mean, no one will ever think about that in the same way. The World Cup's coming up. If there's another octopus that picks the winners, I think that'll be a big moment for everyone in our audience.
And when you can do the final wrap up of everyone sitting around a table laughing and sharing a beer and eating popcorn, and then and remember how we're a throuple and we have 2 children? I sure do. Goodbye, everyone. That's a good innovation. Yeah. You won't see that in any other book.
Give us the kids' IQs. You surely have had them tested by this point in time. How long can they hold their breath?
Exactly.
Well, let's wrap up with a few dumb sentences. We have a few Constitution. Many of them, of course, brought to us by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/372pages, where, what did we do last week? We solved a 372-themed crossword over there. That was fun.
That was super fun.
We had our visit to Gump and Company. Every episode early. Find out what the next book is before anyone else. What if it's another one where there's only 10 copies of it and they sell out immediately? You'll feel like a chump if you didn't get the news ahead of that. It won't be. We got to pick something everyone can read.
Well, what if we were able to drive even a major published novel up to $3,000 a copy or whatever the algorithm?
I'm very curious to see if the resale market, now that this is done, emerges. I'll be tracking Super Constitution copies on Amazon. I can't imagine they're going to be maintaining that rate, but if they're even $30, I'd be impressed that we were able to have that effect on it.
That was my long con. I started this podcast years ago so I could sell Super Constitution for $45 after buying it for $15 or whatever it was.
But yeah, so thanks to everyone on Patreon. That's really exciting, and we are happy to have a fun community over there of jackals. Here's John. He said, in the rapid process of deployment and disarming, they began to feel more love for each other. I feel like that was Miss Sequoia and the president of the universe. He says, nothing says I love you like deployment and disarming. Harris submitted, nevertheless, every nation's gloomy soldiers never explicitly made any temperamental chagrin. He just said he found it oddly poetic. Brad submitted, her killing wave and communicating capability have worked wonder. Sick. Mike submitted, sometimes, we covered this, but sometimes the currency looks like an exorcist or a magician. He says he's not sure if exorcists and magicians will resent looking like money more or less than looking like each other, but I see some hurt feelings happening. Craig submitted, George Kirkman literally became bewildered at the numbers J. Kim simply cited. And he says, that's quite an unexpected reaction for someone with the job title President of the Global Government, who was handpicked for the job by Charles Kim's Troika of super geniuses. He also submitted, I don't know if we touched on this one, it has intensified my interesting, which I feel like, I don't know if it's real or not, but I think there's like a closed caption of a show that says intensity intensifies. I forget what that was, but
oh yeah, right.
Andrew submitted, nobody made the super constitution, which again was just categorically false. Justin submitted a sentence that just says it was a history. Janelle submitted, money wants matured behavior and well-balanced temperaments. And that was from the sort of Gordon Gekko greed is good money talk that we read an excerpt of. I had two. We might have touched on one of them, but one of them was, I wish you a lot of lux. Probably because he was implementing some horrible program. And then another one was just George Kirkman excited as a stage direction.
Is it supposed to be exited?
Well, I don't know.
Pursued by a bear?
It's probably.
I'll just repeat this one just in case you missed it, because it was in a list. Kim continued, after a short period of time, taking some pause for a deep breath to give a break to his body's composure. So please, everyone, we encourage you every 15 minutes, get up from your desk after a short period of time, taking some pause for a deep breath to give a break to your body's composure.
Your Apple Watch should tell you to do that if you haven't, done it in a while. You know how it tells you to move? It should tell you to take a deep breath for your body's composure.
Yeah, you got to keep scrolling over your... What am I supposed to do? Yes. Scroll.
Oh, well, there we go. I'm going to go take a deep breath for my body's composure. Hopefully we can all do the same thing. If there's a candidate on your local ballots this November who's proposing a one world government, I'd say go out there and vote against him. That's my advice for everybody.
I'd say follow your heart, man. Do whatever. It depends on whether you've heard from Miss O'Hara or not.
Watch out for killing powers, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing in. Thank you for supporting the Patreon. We love you all, and you'll be the ones we spare when we get our hands on the killing wave. That's for sure.
Maybe.